I'm back with another video. You know, one day I'm going to post a video about my favorite national parks. And when I do, this place is going to be one of them. So this video is part one of my Olympic National Park experience. Here we go. Just over a 3 hours drive from Seattle, Washington is Olympic National Park. Olympic National Park consumes 922,000 acres of what we call the Olympic Peninsula in the state of Washington. It is the largest remaining old-growth forest in the United States. I have been to Olympic National Park 11 times. There are some people who may live in the Pacific Northwest, and that may not be a big deal. Well, Otis, I happen to live on the other side of the country. So that makes this a bit of a haul for me. Stop typing. There are a number of ways you can reach the park. You can drive around Puget Sound, take about 3 hours. I have also taken the Washington State Ferry across Puget Sound between Edmonds and Kingston, Washington. The Washington State Ferries are a reliable and very efficient way to travel. Just know that when you exit the ferry, you're still going to have to drive about an hour and a half. Olympic National Park was protected as a national monument in 1909. In 1938, it received national park status. In 1981, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, aka UNESCO, named Olympic National Park a World Heritage Site. Long before that, there were at least 8 indigenous peoples that lived in this area. The Hoh, the Makah, the Skokomish, the Quinault, and the Quileute are a few of them. These tribes occupied the Olympic Peninsula for thousands of years before anyone else set foot on them. Be prepared to drive a lot when you visit Olympic National Park because there are no roads that cross from one side of the park to the other. As I said, it is 922,000 acres of national park and wilderness land. Word to the wise, make sure your tank is full. There are not a lot of gas stations along your way. Because the park is so large, I'm going to do 2 videos about Olympic National Park. This is number 1, which highlights the east side of Olympic National Park, which you will access via Port Angeles, Washington. I'm going to say this again, get your gas and snacks there. One of the first places that I would suggest you visit would be Hurricane Ridge. Hurricane Ridge is only open parts of the year. During the winter, there is too much snow and ice, and you cannot travel that road. In 2023, the visitor center and all facilities at Hurricane Ridge burned to the ground in fire. And although you can still travel there, there are very, very limited facilities there. But Hurricane Ridge is still worth the visit because it is there where you will get the best view of Mount Olympus. Let me say this, it is often cloudy here. You know, this place gets a lot of rain. I have been to Hurricane Ridge a number of times. I think I've seen the mountain twice, but those 2 times were worth it. Mount Olympus is 7,980 feet above sea level. It has 32 named glaciers. Mount Olympus was formed 30 million years ago due to volcanic activity and the plate tectonics that have brought us what we know as the Ring of Fire. Geologists tell us that as a result of the ever active plate tectonics, that Mount Olympus is still growing. Olympic National Park is one of the more popular national parks. It is visited by over 3 million people per year. You may not experience that crowd until you either 1, try to reserve a campsite, or 2, get to the trailheads and find all the parking spaces have been taken. So plan ahead. After spending some time with Mount Olympus and Hurricane Ridge, you're going to head down the mountainside. You're going to drive west. And in doing so, you're going to pass Lake Crescent. Lake Crescent is 12 miles long. It is on average 300 feet deep. In some places there are depths up to 600 feet. Lake Crescent was formed through glaciation. 8,000 years ago, a landslide created a natural dam, so the water no longer flowed into the Elbe River. Now we have Lake Crescent. Driving along Lake Crescent is a beautiful drive. There are several places where you can stop and take in the view of this lake. Just as you drive past Lake Crescent, you're going to come to the Storm King area. And it is here where you will turn right, pull in the parking lot, and take the highly suggested hike to Mery Mir Falls. Mery Mir Falls is a 90-foot waterfall accessed via a 2-mile hike from the Storm King Ranger Station. The hike itself is as beautiful as the falls. Let me say this, Olympic National Park gets 12 feet of rain a year. It's going to be wet. Going to be a lot of mud, so some people may not want to wear their brand new Timbs. Me personally, I think that's why you buy them, but what do I know? You're going to pass through old growth forest. Then you're going to come to the river and you will see this bridge. By the time you see this log bridge, you're going to hear the falls. You're going to take a series of steps up that will take you to 2 viewing platforms from which to view the falls. This is one of those places where you can bring your lunch and just sit for a while. And after you've done that, this trail is going to loop you back around to the bridge and you will hike back through the forest to the trailhead. For me, this is one of the places that you do not want to miss on a visit to Olympic National Park. After leaving Mery Mir Falls, you're going to travel several miles to the west until you come to the Sol Duc Valley Road. The Sol Duc Valley Road is going to take you to a number of things. It's going to take you to the Sol Duc Hot Springs Resort, but more importantly, it is going to take you to the trailhead for Sol Duc Falls. Along this 12-mile road, you will pass what is called the Ancient Grove. Don't drive past it. It's only a half-a-mile hike. It is just as advertised. It is an ancient grove. If you have watched or listened to any of my videos in the past, you probably know that I am a tree lover. So that would make this place special to me, and I think you would enjoy it as well. As you hike in the ancient grove, you're going to hike to the Sol Duc River. Sol Duc River is 78 miles long, so you're going to cross this river a number of times. But at this part of the hike along the Sol Duc River, you will come to a place called Salmon Cascade, and if you come here in the fall, and I have done this, you will see salmons swimming upstream. You could sit here and watch the salmon swim upstream, and you almost forget that you're actually on your way somewhere else. It is really interesting to just sit and watch that. After you finish hiking through the ancient grove, you're going to get back in your car and you're going to continue on Sol Duc Valley Road. And in a few miles, you will reach the Sol Duc Hot Springs Resort. Yes, there are natural hot springs in Olympic National Park. And this resort features 3 mineral-fed hot spring pools. So you can spend the night at one of the cottages here. I have done so many times. There's a restaurant here. There's a snack bar here. There's a gift shop here. There are a number of things. This is a convenient stop. The resort hot springs are not the only hot springs. There are several hot springs in the area. Just know that if you hike to one of them, that 1, you will be sharing it with other people, and 2, they're most likely going to be naked. So if you are uncomfortable with that sort of thing, don't go wandering around out there. Just past the Sol Duc Hot Springs and the Sol Duc Campground, you're going to come to the parking lot and trailhead for Sol Duc Falls. Sol Duc Falls for me is indescribable. It is not only my favorite place in the park, it is one of my favorite places in this world. I can and do come here and spend hours. A few years ago, I was here with my wife and it started raining. And she looked at me like, oh, okay, I think it's time for us to go. And I looked at her and I was like, why? And then she looked back at me and said, we're going to have that talk. But anyway, this is one of my favorite places on the planet. You will hear this waterfall before you get to it. And when you get to it, here is another log bridge, which is the best place from which to view the falls. On a sunny day, you can see a rainbow in the midst of the falls. This is just under a 2-mile round trip hike from the parking lot. And if I'm only going to see one thing in Olympic National Park, it will always be this. I thoroughly enjoy bringing this content to you. And if you like this sort of thing, please like, subscribe, and share this channel. There are several superlatives that make Olympic National Park one of my favorites. Sol Duc Falls is just one of them. So know that there is going to be a part 2 to this video, places that I thoroughly enjoy as well. But before I move on to part 2, I will leave you with these. I'll be back with Olympic National Park Part 2, aka the West Side, soon. Please tune in.